Hunterworks belts, best belt on the planet. Today we're going to talk about the difference between an aftermarket and an OEM. Would you believe there's little to nothing? There are a couple of companies dedicated to making OEM. They potentially willing to make some aftermarket, they just don't. There are other companies who make OEMs and aftermarkets. At the end of the day, the technology for all of the above is the same. You know, I visited my manufacturer a few weeks ago. They've been in business 100 years. You don't think they can't get this right by now? Well, of course they can. But the difference is an OEM gives them the specs to make what they want. An aftermarket will go to the aftermarket division. They will pull an OEM belt that they might make. They can't share information. The OE guy cannot tell him dimensions or nothing. He has to extract it, measuring, and trust me, they got some crazy, insane measuring tools, computers that can tell what the material is, etc. And he can pull it out and then make an aftermarket belt, and then you make samples, and then you go to testing, and then you make belts. That's what we've been doing. There's also belts that are simply 100% private label. You make belts, just pull your name off, put my name on them, put them in a cardboard sleeve. That is not what we're doing. For the past 5 years, we've made so many changes to the belts to improve and improve and improve till we've gotten it as good as you could possibly get it. And I won't speak for them. I think we are the only aftermarket that is not a cookie cutter private label. And so the big difference is really nothing. You know, but at the same time, it's everything. Two examples of aftermarket belts that don't exist anywhere. 92G that we sell and thick. 92G is thicker than the general belt that it replaces, and also 17 1000 Ranger 18 Crew, and it's thicker, it does better, hands down it's better. We use it on 900 razors. The OEM belt is very, very jerky. Ours is not jerky, so it's better. Fast forward to our standard belts. We've been working on dimensions for lower noise, etc., compounds, you name it. It is, in my opinion, better than the OEM. That belt on that particular model, XP1000, is a really high quality belt. It's just expensive. How ours compare again? I think it's better. Thick belt, nothing exists in the world. If you want a thicker belt than a standard size belt for a Razor 1000, doesn't exist anywhere. So that can be a private label. Turbo, we have played with dimensions and every other part of this belt to make it work on, believe it or not, 16 through 23. Today's date is July 6th, I think, of 23, so 23 models. But again, we've just continued to make it better. But at the end of the day, the same people that assemble these belts on a line, all these that come down the same line, but they are put on what's called a drum. They're made inside out, they're layered up, they put cord on them, they bake them in a vacuum chamber, etc. Only difference is maybe what compound, shape of the cogs, and dimension changes. What, as far as quality amongst three, you know, I think ours edges it out, but we're changing them dimensions to do something different, to make something better, to grab here and grab there. Last thing I'll tell you is you could make a belt specifically for mud guys, specifically for dune guys, specifically for desert racers, specifically for general stuff, and they would exceed in all these places. But it's not going to happen because it's entirely too expensive to shut a line down to move to the next and the next and the next. And these companies that makes aftermarket belts don't have the time or the capacity to do. Nobody wants to work anymore to do that. I'd be willing to bet some of these that are labeled this, that, and the other, actually the same belt with a different cardboard sleeve. Buy 2 or 3 and check them out yourself. But point is, at the end of the day, there's little to no difference between them, and you can't just, you know, arbitrarily say OEM is better. Some applications, they are. Most applications, we're going to be better. Our competitors, certainly applications they're going to be better at. So don't get hung up on that brand OEM versus aftermarket, because in our case, it's just simply not true. And if our belt didn't work out for you, doesn't mean they're junk for everybody. You had an application and it didn't do well. Pick one that does and stick with it. You'd never hear me complain about that. If an OEM works for you, great. If a Gates works for you, great. If a G-Boost works for you, great. Whoever it is, and your application, if it works for you, I got no problem with that. Hopefully I'll sell you a clutch. But Hunterworks belts, when I say best on the planet, I freaking mean it. Thank you guys. If you got any questions for me about belts versus OEM that I can share with you, Todd at Hunterworks.com. Thanks.